All right, well, today we're talking with Christine Campbell and Blake Johnston, the duo behind the East Coast band Campbell and Johnston. Their newest release, May 2024's Paisley Hearts, is soaked in modern blues and is filled with addictive grooves and phenomenal stories. So I want to take the time to thank you guys for chatting with me today. I really appreciate it. It was an amazing set out there. What's kind of going through your mind?
Well, it's always that after show sort of adrenaline dump where you're like, oh. But it was a great time. It's the last festival for us this season. And it's kind of, you're always building up to the last big one. So just, satisfied, tired, but a good tired.
Yes. We still have a little pop-up show, so my adrenaline goes right to the end and then
crashes.
But, so right now I'm in go mode, but normally, unfortunately, a lot of times it's even really appreciated in retrospect because that's the time you can just stop, and especially when you have a 7-piece or 8-piece band. We got our sound tech, you got your guest passes, you got a lot going on, and you're just like, what instrument am I playing? And that's where my brain is right now. So, but we're having a good time.
Good, that's amazing to hear.
It's a real cool spot.
That's awesome. It was phenomenal to see you guys. You guys put on an awesome show.
Thanks.
I kind of like to start off the interview with like 5 quick icebreaker questions for you both. So the first one is, if you could time travel to any era of music, which period of time would you choose?
Late 60s, early 70s is, if I can get a window, I'll take that. But all of them. I'm pretty vintage. I think the verdict's out on that one.
Same probably. I would, the era where if I could see original Allman Brothers lineup or Hendrix, and you only hear about like the stage shows of. If you play music in a live band in this day and age, stage volume is like a modern day thing where like sometimes you haven't even taken your guitar out of the case and people are like, it's kind of loud, and you're like, well, and I often think like, man, when they were playing whatever it was, Madison Square Garden or Royal Albert Hall, and they would have 3, 810s and just all of them wide open. What would that have been like to be at a show like that? So probably that era for that reason.
Pretty cool. So like a Woodstock vibe almost, eh?
Yeah, even or like any Fillmore East, you know what I mean? Yeah. To be honest, I would probably prefer something like the Fillmore, or like a theater show where it's like 1,500, 2,000, where it's like it's still a big setting, but it's intimate enough that
that was always a big, huge dream.
Yeah.
But later on, you find out like how crazy it was behind the scenes, and that it could have totally, really gone badly. So like knowing that stuff, and when you're in this business long enough, you kind of see everything on stage for what it is. If somebody's having technical difficulties with their guitar, I want to jump up there and like and I'll guitar tech for you. So it might be a little tough for me now, but totally would love to be in that era. It'd be amazing.
Cool, awesome. Kind of bouncing off what you said about like 1,500, 2,000. Would you say you prefer that in the middle, like an intimate venue versus something big and blown out?
I would, yeah. I mean, usually theaters in general have great sound. They're usually built for live entertainment, live music, whereas stuff like this is more like, unless you get the natural amphitheater type setting, venues like Red Rocks or whatever that are kind of just topography-wise, they're set up almost like a natural amphitheater. These are different because when you're open air and you're throwing so much sound into the open air, it very much feels different. And then if you're in a really small club, sometimes you're just mashing all the sound together. So I find those, when you're lucky enough to play a run of theaters like that, you notice that this is kind of that sweet spot. Yeah. And everything has its pros and cons, and you kind of adapt to whatever the gig parameters are. But
some festivals are like super cool and they just vibe, and you just like get like cool vibey surprises, and then it's like your second dream home or something, right? So I will say, if you get the right festival sometimes, however, I'd say
like SOMMO.
Yes.
Nice.
And you get cool interviews and stuff. And sometimes festivals have like little spin-off shows that you do. Like I love having a weekend festival where like we might play the whole band, but then we'll go and do like a songwriter circle or a duo show, and we're gonna get a little bit of every side. Or sometimes you get paired up with another band and you're jamming with them, and that's cool. So I guess I would say I like that when it's like a whole weekend type thing. If it's just one show, I think I would agree with the theater idea, just because the sound is amazing, and because it's something that we've done enough times. It's probably the most like, we don't have a regular office, so that's probably the closest thing, because they do have a similar kind of sound.
Cool. So. Awesome. Well, that's wonderfully. Thank you. I appreciate that. Let's see. Another one. Another quick icebreaker. What is the first song you guys remember really falling in love with?
Suspicious Minds, Dwight Yoakam's version. It was on he had an album called Just Looking for a Hit. It was a compilation album, but for whatever reason, I think that's the only record that, it's a studio recording, but it's only put out on that compilation record. And we used to have a little stereo that looked like the front end of like a Bel Air car or something.
Oh, yeah.
Like the speakers were the headlights and the grill was where you put the tape in. And I remember sitting and looking at that and hearing the intro to that song and getting that kind of, your hair standing up.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much of the memory is sort of fabricated or how much is real, but that's the image that I have. And if I hear that song today, that little radio still pops up.
So cool.
I'm pretty sure Deep Purple. Deep Purple, I think, came before Led Zeppelin. I'm not sure. I know I was in diapers when my parents were playing a lot of it that put me to sleep. But the first time I actually remember hearing "Immigrant Song" by Led Zeppelin or "Highway Star" by Deep Purple, and my mind was just like, "What is happening?" And my brain, I could feel the neuro, connectors transforming into little guitars. But I think it was "Highway Star" that was first. But both those two songs to this day are still mind-blowing for me.
That's awesome. Let's see, who would you want to play you in a movie about your life?
Well, I've
been asked this question a few times, and I've never had a real answer.
I mean, there's two answers to this. There's who I would want to play me in a movie, who I would say I would take
not Seth Rogen.
Well, I would say either a Chris Pratt or a Henry Cavill, a ridiculously handsome guy. I'm not that handsome, but that's what I would want. Just one of those dudes where you're I'd switch the other team for that guy. But if I'm being realistic, Seth Rogen would have to play. I mean, I've been so many times in life, somebody's been like, "Do you know who you remind me of?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I know exactly who I remind you of." So
let me take a guess, right?
That's a two-pronged answer.
I don't think I'll be able to answer correctly for this one. I used to get a lot of, back in the day, especially when I straightened my hair a lot and I wore way bigger bell bottoms, because I used to get sewn bell bottoms in back in the day. I used to get a lot of Jackie from that 70s show.
Cool,
sure.
Yeah.
And there is a little bit of sort of Mila Kunis to her look, but I will say that as far as, even though it was a different instrument, this had a huge effect on me as a kid.
Never mind. That was always but that was because she played bass, and that was the closest thing at the time to a female guitarist.
Well, and Chris used to wear maybe a little bit more
one of the few, I should say.
Yeah.
Fashion-wise, she would wear dresses a little bit more back in the day when the first couple times I'd seen her band. So that was one of the first things that it reminded me of. And when I was a kid and I saw that movie, well, yeah, there was a little bit. That's good callback there.
Nice. All right. Let's see. For your personal use, when you're listening to music, vinyl, CD, or streaming?
Vinyl.
Nice.
Vinyl. I mean, again, two-pronged answer. If I'm home, it's vinyl. If I'm outside,
if anybody wants to buy one, go to CampbellJohnstonMusic.com.
Yeah, and then if I'm on a road trip, I don't care what anybody says. I understand that Spotify is whatever, but it has changed my life.
Yeah.
And when you're doing a 7-8 hour drive, being able to either listen to almost
songs too.
Absolutely, it's just so the streaming thing. I'm over fighting the future. I accept it. If I'm home, I enjoy the process of pulling out the vinyl and playing it. But if I'm on the road, the convenience of streaming is wonderful.
And we're also on all the socials.
Nice.
Forever promotion over here. That's good though.
I wanted to chat a little bit about Paisley Hearts. Love that album. It's
Thank you.
Phenomenal. So the track titled "Find Your Way," it has such a joyful, energetic feel to it. I kind of thought of it as Bonnie Raitt met Michael Bublé almost. It's got this really cool sound to it. Very
I would take that. That's great.
I like it.
I might use that down the road.
Yeah, of course. What was the process like for creating that song? Can you kind of take us behind the songwriting process and how you?
Yeah. Well, I kind of chuckle when you said it because it's a joyful. I remember I was sitting on the couch in the daytime. The coach. I'm such an East Coaster. Nobody was home. I was pretty lit. It was the afternoon. Yeah. Nobody was home, and I kind of just started jamming on the first part of the song, the intro, and then I kind of started carving out a little bit of a verse section. There was no lyrics. After an hour or so of playing it, the "Find Your Way Home" thing started coming, but I didn't write it down. It was just kind of what I was mumbling, and I was kind of carving out the verse melody, and I wasn't singing it well, there's like a descending line that happens in it, and I was really pitchy. So when Chris got home, I was like, hey, I think I might have come up with something that's kind of cool. Can you sing this? Because I can't. Like, I'm terrible at trying to do it. So she heard it, and she kind of started, doing what she does and messing around. And we were both...
I'm pretty sure I just heard you singing it, and then I was like, we're doing that. And then nothing gets to the finish line unless I nag it all the way there.
That's true, but you definitely...
I did write some of it, but it was mainly...
You wrote all the verse lyrics. I wrote the chorus, and it was definitely... the nice thing about playing with somebody that, Chris is better in other areas than I am. I'm better in other areas. So we can, right outside of our wheelhouse and go, okay, she can handle that. Like, I'd like to do something like this, but I'm not really executing it well, but she'll sing that part better. And it also kind of splits it up for anybody listening. You're never hearing one thing too long.
Yes.
So that one was a pretty collaborative. Not all of them are as...
is what it is. We call it. We just have a
compromise
in the middle.
And see what comes out. That's pretty cool. You can kind of explore different areas in that. Just going to flip my page over here. This is a question for you, Christine. I know you're classically trained in piano, and your website says your heart kind of lies in shredding Zeppelin.
Oh, yeah.
What is it like mashing those two kind of very different genres together, and how does that help you with songwriting and performances for Campbell and Johnston?
It's a double-edged sword for sure, because in some respects it's super frustrating, because for the longest time, I just tend to love 60s and 70s rock. So that was the kind of style of music that I loved, but my voice was always a little bit more bluesy, my piano was a little bit more classical, and it's very hard to people always want to put you in a category, which was not at all my, what I wanted to do.
Yeah.
So for years it was very hard to kind of chisel, especially when you have ADHD like I do, it was very hard to just kind of create a brand and not be a chameleon. And some days I had fishnets and I was ripping guitar at a biker festival, and then the next moment I was playing at the Chamber of Commerce spring annual dinner. And I liked kind of, being these people sometimes. It's still a facet of me. So it was very annoying in the long run, but then now I feel like it's slowly starting to get chiseled somewhere in the middle. And I do need it, because I just get bored too easy, and I need to have a moment live where I can play piano, or have a moment where I can go rip a guitar solo, or have a moment where I can just sing. So it's cool, but it does take a lot to harness it and polish it and make it fit in the same show.
Gotcha. We did a show recently. We were lucky enough, we played at Montreal Jazz and opened for Amanda Marshall, and that was actually at a 1,500-ish seat theater. Nice. And they had mentioned that they had a grand piano there, and Christine was like, well, if you have it, I could use it. Well, we have a song that we could put in the set list, and so they said, okay. And the elevator that they brought us up in, it was a gigantic freight elevator. It was huge. You could have. Yeah. And I see them at one point, the two stage techs are bringing this gigantic piano out, and they had to load it in this freight. It was a big deal to get it up there. And I thought these guys they're going to hate us. So it's only for one song.
Yeah.
And when we played the set, it was one of those moments that it really went over well, and I think the audience, usually we put something like that in the middle of the set, and just when they kind of think they know what they're in for the next 35 minutes of the set, it's something that switches up the whole dynamic. And
it really, especially in a theater where the lights kind of come down and the sound's so good and it's so intimate. It's a wonderful thing. And then it just that comparison, everything is just more heavy when you come back with a heavy song, or so.
Well, it was the biggest pop we got the whole night was when the song that we play. There was quite a high note at the end of this song, and when that happened, several times at shows, if people are going to clap, it's usually there, and we got a big response. And I ended up thinking I'm so glad that happened, because if nothing else, if the sound guys were cursing us at some point, they would be like, okay, well that makes sense. It was worth it. So. Yeah, it definitely...
One song we did too, and when I saw the big grand piano coming, I was like, I'm sorry, you didn't have to.
Have to do it. That's cool. Keeps the audience on their toes, right?
Totally.
Nice. Question for you, Blake. You've been playing guitar since you were 7. You've been all over Halifax doing blues circuits and that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
How has playing that underground circuit helped you for performances here at SOMMO Fest and Montreal Jazz Fest and big spots like that?
Well, I mean, the sort of fly by the seat of your pants. So when I was, I think, 15, I started going to there's a bar in Halifax called Barely's House of Blues and Ribs.
Yes, yep.
And they do a blues jam every Sunday, and it's been going on for, I think 2005 was when I first started going, and it was going long before that. So, I mean, it's probably at least a 25-year tenure of that jam, and just going there every Sunday, and you didn't know who necessarily you would be sitting in with or who you'd be. It might be a different drummer, a different bass player. You might sing a song, you might play a song that somebody else sings, and a lot of that sort of, I don't know what's going on here, but I'm just going to try and get through, I feel like has helped me overall, just that when you're on stage, anything can happen, and just being used to again, going with the flow of the river, I suppose. And in general,
he's very modest. Honestly, that's why I got pregnant in the first place with his baby. Is just he's had so many styles that you just don't expect, and he doesn't like specialize in one so much because he weaves it all together in like the context that it needs to be woven into. So it's pretty impressive.
Man of many talents.
It was an education basically, and it was one of those things where I learned a lot from much better players that were. I remember one time, the very first time I ever learned any bit of like actual music theory talk where I knew it was happening. I was playing a song, and the band was just kind of running it down quickly amongst themselves. And one guy said, "Hey, when we go to the verse, it's a quick 4 chord."
Okay, yep.
And I didn't know what a 4 chord was, and I remember starting to panic because I was like, I don't think we're talking about the same song, and I was so scared. I remember plugging in my patch cord in the guitar, my hand was shaking, and then when we started the song, everything went, it sounded like we rehearsed it, 20 times, and that was the first time I ever clued into, I think I know what he meant when he said that term, and that's just kind of an example how that went. However many years I was doing that, I just, every time I would learn a little something new, and it's just made me more comfortable to, if I break a string on stage, if I step on my tuner by accident and I cut out, like, you just get used to dealing with it as it comes. So I think that's what it helped me with a lot.
Lots of doozies.
Very cool.
If we haven't quit by now, we're never quitting.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, that's wonderful. I got 2 more quick questions for you. One little quick icebreaker. If your music was a color, what color would that be?
Deep purple.
Deep purple, yeah. Cool.
Well, that's such a hard one. I don't know. I guess I would go with like tie-dye doesn't count as a color, but maybe like I like the sort of olive-ish green color.
That is actually my favorite color is olive green.
Nice.
So I guess it really depends on the key.
Too, like the bursts on our Les Pauls and like on my telly and stuff. So there's a lot. I like nature-esque colors, but I do like ones that still pop and draw you in and like contrasts. But yeah, I'd still go through deep purple. Yeah.
I just hate having to stick with one thing. So I'm trying to find a loophole to your question.
Gotcha. Yeah. Last question for you. This is kind of the I guess the tougher question. You wake up on a desert island, and sort of like Pirates of the Caribbean, and instead of finding rum underneath the sand, you find a record player and 3 albums. What are the albums?
Machine Heads.
Cool. Okay.
Led Zeppelin 3. And then it's a toss-up between Rumors and the Guess Who Best Of. I guess no, that's a tough one, man. But I will say Rumors was pretty significant because The Chain was the one song I was able to kind of convert all my little kid friends who didn't appreciate vintage music when I was like 5. Cool. So I suppose there's some significance there. So we'll go with that.
Talk is Cheap, Keith Richards. I would either toss that up between that or Exile on Main Street, but I'm gonna go with Keith Richards because that's my. Then I would do Fillmore East, Allman Brothers, and then I would do Kinda Blue, Miles Davis.
Cool. Those are some phenomenal picks. Those are awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, love that. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for talking with me today.
Thank you. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
I love your questions.
Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I hope to see you back again.
Individually, which was so great too.
Thank you.
And then we didn't have to fight as much.
Yeah, fight over the microphone. Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you. I hope to see you guys again. I think somebody said you guys are in Charlottetown.
Yeah.
Trailside
at late October.
Awesome.
It got moved so that it didn't interfere with this.
Cool.
But late October we will be back as the duo.
Awesome.
Which is a totally different experience, and some people like it more.
Nice. Any Halifax shows upcoming?
Yes, we have a Christmas show actually. It's going to be announced this week.
Nice.
It's not technically announced, but it will be Tuesday. It's our very first Christmas show. Mm-hmm. We do have a couple Christmas singles. We're going to be releasing a new one shortly and also a Christmas album eventually, like very funky, upbeat, fun Christmas music.
Cool.
And we Christmas like real hard.
Yeah.
We love Christmas and we're not ashamed of it. So
Awesome.
Carleton on December 13th.
December 13th at the
Yes.
Carlton. Wonderful.
And if you check out campbellandjohnstonmusic.com, there's just always stuff happening. Not everything's public, not everything's out yet. But you can always swing a message. We're pretty active on the socials.
And get the vinyl on the website, right?
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. Well, thank you again. I really appreciate it.
Thanks, John.
Wonderful.